still coming back, and there's a lot of stamina here. So I'm sorry to disappoint. I'm not Chris Williams. Unfortunately, Chris, the CEO of the Safe Water Network, wasn't able to join, so I'm standing in. My name is David Aubrey, and I head UN Habitat's office for Europe, based in Brussels. So welcome again. So this session is about scaling South-South WOPs from innovation to inclusive water and sanitation services. So where are we now? SDG 6, this is our sustainable development goal to ensure clean access to water and sanitation to all by 2030. Where are we at? I'm sure you've been hearing this throughout the week and already familiar with the statistics, but it is improving. By now, the global share of population using safely managed drinking water services has increased from 68% to 74%. And over the same period, those using safely managed sanitation services has risen from 48% to 58%. So there is progress, but at the same time, 2.2 billion people still lack safely managed drinking water. 3.4 billion people still lack safely managed sanitation. 1.7 billion people still lack basic hygiene services at home. So there's a long way to go. So what are the issues holding us back? People say it's finance and investments. Many countries lack sufficient funding mechanisms. Some people are talking about governance, the need to transboundary governance, all the way from transboundary to national governments to the regional to local and right down to community level. So there's a huge sort of challenges in that sort of value chain from macro to micro level governance and institutional capacity. Some people will talk about data and monitoring gaps, and we've heard a lot about that during this few days. And of course, with climate change is getting harder and harder. There's increasing pressure, and it's making the goals harder when we get more and more droughts and unpredictable weather patterns. So some analysts say that efforts must at least quadruple to get back on track with SDG 6. So, yes, the progress is moving in the right direction, but too slow. There's a lot left to be done. Now, I'm not an expert on WOPs. I'm more of a generalist, so maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. Does anybody know how many WOPs there are in the world at the moment? Does anybody want to get? I don't know the answer, so whatever you say, I'll take it. My guess, maybe 1,000. I don't know. There could be quite a few, huh? So maybe we need to find out somehow. Maybe our WOPA team will be able to tell us sometime. How many local and regional local authorities exist? Again, there's no specific data on that, but some people estimate around 600,000. So at about 1,000 WOPs, about 600,000 local governments. Okay, there might be a gap there. We need to move quickly from around about 1,000 to around about 100,000 or more. And I think that is our challenge. That's the next stage of WOPA, I think. And we've got 5 years to do it in. But having been here for a couple of days, I have a few kind of positive vibes, you know. There's a huge amount of solidarity amongst water operators who are willing to share practice and become mentors. And we've seen this for a long time now, that there's a sector that has a lot of solidarity, a lot of love in it. So I think this is great. There's a huge number of water operators that want to be mentees as well. And when we released the call for EU WOPs, for instance, we're having so many great applications, more than we have the availability of funds to manage. And then, and more mentors are in regions where the access to water is a challenge. So we're seeing very good mentor WOPs in African countries, in Asian countries, in places where there's a scarcity of water, where the capacity really needs to rapidly build. And so this is a very positive thing. And this sort of, the idea then of South-South WOPs is quite attractive, because you don't have the huge sort of travel distances, you have proximity, there's possibly a way to go to scale very nimbly through networks, with South-South cooperation networks of water operators. So while I think, it's been a curve like this so far, I think South-South cooperation could take us up here. It could be one of these exponential curves. And we're seeing now more and more South-South cooperations happening. The other thing about finance is I was actually brought here to have a lot of the bilaterals with our IFIs. We've met with Asian Development Bank, EBRD, and others. And there's a huge appetite of the IFIs to invest. When I looked at some of the numbers from the Asian Development Bank the other day, I kind of said, whoa, it's quite a lucrative business you got going here. And he said, oh, okay, we don't use the word lucrative, but it's pretty good. So there is appetite. There is finance out there. There are very good, well-capacitated water operators in those regions that really need to move and scale up. And what we're going to hear about today is what is the experience so far on South-South cooperation. And in the discussion, we'll discuss whether South-South cooperation is the way forward to go from, say, 1,000 WOPs to, say, 100,000. Just to frame our understanding of South-South cooperation, I'm going to invite Shabana to come and give a few words. Thank you. And then I'll introduce the panel.
All right, great. Hi everyone. It's the last session, but I'm sure that you still have some energy left in you. I just want to give a short disclaimer before I start that I'm not representing the views of my organization. Some of them are also my personal views from seeing how these partnerships have developed over the years. Some of you might think, why do we have to talk about South-South in isolation? But the idea of the whole thing is that we need to complement North-South partnerships that are more viewed as more traditional way of partnering. And then we were now trying to bring in and scale up South-South partnerships. So this is the reason that they have to be viewed in isolation. And this is why we have women's networks sometimes. And where there needs a balance, you need to try to elevate one side of it and show the complete picture. And that's why we're talking about South-South partnerships in isolation in this session. Now, before we dig deep into GWOPA and South-South WOPs, I would like to highlight what the UN actually has given us guidelines for South-South partnerships. So these are the guidelines, or actually the definition or the reason behind why South-South partnerships were established. And this is an official template provided by the UN Office for South-South Cooperation in New York. So the first thing is to look at solidarity, like the Global South being getting together to understand what power they have and how do they harness it. And then also looking at this whole angle of mutual benefits, always that not putting some sort of dynamics or imbalance in a situation that one person is the giver and the other person is the receiver, but really looking at the mutual benefit between partnerships on a voluntary basis. And then looking at horizontal level partnerships without any hierarchy or power imbalances amongst equals, where countries cooperate together as peers. And then there's this demand driven and empowering the countries to lead their own shape in their development, giving them a chance to put themselves first to see how they can build up their leadership skills in a new world. And then also looking at not having any conditions attached. Sometimes it is possible that there are always it comes with a tag, it comes with certain projects come with conditions, donor requirements, for example. And the principle behind South-South partnerships is really looking at not having these conditions, and then they cooperate at a really peer level. And then looking at how all partners can benefit from cooperation and not just one or two. So there's no naming of one person as beneficiary because everyone benefits from it. And then we're looking at definitely not substituting North-South partnerships. They are happening and they will continue to happen, and we all really know the value of this partnership, but we're looking at how do we complement this and how do we bring about a new world of change. And then also the last but not the least, the most important point is to look at cost effectiveness. How do we make cooperation much more economical? So with this, I will move on to some database on WOPs that Dyford was talking about. So there could be 1,000 WOPs because these are not all WOPs are not registered in the Global WOPs Observatory. Some people might not even call it WOPs, but they're actually doing WOPs on ground. So we have around 475 or odd WOPs registered, and out of that, 68 are ongoing. Now, when you take a look at it, it's actually the South-South WOPs that are more. But they're often kind of invisible because they're very small or they're very in-country, but they have been making a massive change in these smaller utilities. And that's why you can see the range that these WOPs are mostly low cost. Some are even just 5,000 US dollars. But they're WOPs and they're bringing about performance changes in utilities. And then now we can just go a bit and explore what exactly mutual benefit in a South-South WOP is. Now, if you look at often like WOPs are seen sometimes as peer mentorship, but naturally in the South-South partnerships, they see it more as a peer exchange, that you learn from me and I learn from you. And it looks at reduced power dynamics, but it's always not the case. But in some WOPs, there are testimonials that this might be the case. And then transparency on what the WOP costs are, and then learnings from both sides, contextual problem solving, because you face the same problem and I face the same problem. Let's look at it at a contextual perspective on how to fix it. And then similar enabling environment and institutional setup in their governments. So sometimes you have the municipalities working on certain areas, and then you have a utility working on certain areas. So the sort of institutional setup on how water and sanitation is anchored within national governments are also in some cases similar. Now I have a few voices from partnerships on why they think sometimes South partnerships are beneficial. So one of the voices is that our partner also has low-income communities, and they have developed their pro-poor strategies from scratch for their customers who are living below the poverty line. And this feeling of understanding and facing the same issues is what makes them comfortable to work with each other. And then another utility says that the water meters that they procured in their North-South WOPs are actually they're good, they're really good, but they're of high quality and standards. So once the WOP has concluded, they have no ways to procure it through their own national government. So how do we see the sustainability flow? And then another one said that South-South partnerships seem to have more flexibility in terms of how certain things are procured, for example, or just on how they partnered, looking at the art of partnering, there's a lot of room for flexibility. So this is just, it's an exhaustive list, but some of the most important points where you can say, where are South-South partnerships, where can we use South-South partnerships, and where are they effective? And here we can look at low-cost technology. So, for example, what US produces as $2,500,000 vaccine, India could produce as a $5 vaccine. So we're talking about these economies, and how affordable things are. And sometimes countries in the global south have access to more affordable technology, and they've found a way to make it, cheaper. So wherever there's a need for low cost technologies, then south-south partnerships might be beneficial. And then a lot of countries are exploring this whole world of tariff setting, especially for sanitation. And here, definitely one country can learn from each other. If one country has worked on a new way to do tariff setting, then another country can learn from it. And then when it comes to regulatory systems and compliance, so the same sort of movement is going on to build up regulatory systems in many countries. And then we can talk about gender mainstreaming, where gender within the workforce seems to be a similar problem in many countries in the global south. And then how they manage their solid waste in conjunction with water and sanitation. Sanitation related concepts, on-site sanitation is more prominent in the global south, which deserves more of south-south partnerships. And then looking at integrated municipal system services where utilities don't exist. And looking at cultural context. Some say that, our neighboring country, we have the same religion, we have the same informal service provision sector, so it's really efficient for us to work together because we understand the cultural context. And these are some of the few mentioned here, and I'm sure you can figure out way more ways to say where a South-South partnership could be beneficial. So I come from a sanitation background, so I really had to make a slide on sanitation. So now we're talking about sanitation operator partnerships. So you know that most countries in be it Caribbean, Africa, Asia, they're all reliant on on-site sanitation systems. We had a session yesterday where we described the exact percentages, but somewhere between 70 to 90% are reliant on septic tanks, pit latrines, and so on. And these systems are not decentralized. So here, there's a need for bringing more partners from the global south together for mutual learning. And then we have financing. So most of the funding flows to the global south. And when we look at how a utility has gotten investments and how they're working to build their capacities around it, another utility that is going to receive or has an investment pipeline in the future would be able to learn from one utility that has already done it. And then we're also looking at how we can broaden partnerships. So just broadening them, looking at water, sanitation, and solid waste together, So city to city partnerships, especially in case where utilities don't exist and the national government or local governments are working on it. And then this topic of workers' rights, sanitation workers, the ones that are doing manual emptying. These are all common themes around which you can really learn from the global south. And then there are, of course, market-based approaches that are being piloted in small towns. And then we have fecal sludge management. So here, there's an increasing need to see how to bring more actors on board, and also how to bring countries who are facing the similar issues on board together to learn from each other. Um, so what exactly lies as what is the future of South-South partnerships? So we all know that North-South partnerships have been very successful, but sometimes there's a need to change, or we need a paradigm shift to look at why we're not able to solve these problems. Because if we did, we'll not be talking here in rooms, or we probably wouldn't even have our jobs. So how do we create this new age? So how do we transition from North-South triangular partnerships? And then also looking at how do we fundraise for and transition from bilateral funding to interregional partnerships for Global South? I hardly see very few organizations that are actually able to fund for exchanges between South Asia and Africa, for example, or Southeast Asia and Caribbean. So how do we bring more such, pool funding for South-South partnerships? And also knowledge management, that's key. How do we bring on board these premier institutions in the Global South that are also carrying state-of-the-art research? And then how do we find evolved ways, different models for WOP funding and partnerships? And then how do we align with national policies? How do we institutionalize WOPs? These are all going to be answered when we transition more into triangular and South-South partnerships. So with this, I conclude my presentation. Thank you so much, and over to you, Daifid.
Thank you very much, Shabana. So I'm very pleased to introduce our panel now. We have in the panel Jeffrey Opio. He's from from Kisumu Water and Sanitation Company in Kenya. We have engineer Zainab Mapkariba, something like. Sorry. Okay, from Uganda, and she's there from the National Water and Sewage Company. We have Faustina Boachi from the Ghana Water and Sewage Company. We also have Barhad Abdirahman from Hargeisa Water Agency. And lastly, we have Azwan Ahmed Zahdi from the India Water Consortium in Malaysia. So we have a very nice geographical distribution of colleagues who are going to talk about their experiences in South-South cooperation. I'm very excited to hear from these excellent speakers. And I've heard from some of them earlier on in their presentations as well. So this is going to be a very interesting experience. So let's hear first from Jeffrey Opio, please. I'd like to invite you to come and take the stage. And each panelist will talk first for about 5 or 6 minutes. We'll be quite strict on time so that there's an opportunity for conversation to follow. Jeffrey, please come and take the floor. He's online.
I'll be joining.
Over to you.
I hope that's okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Opio Geoffrey. I'm presenting from Kisumu, a city in Kenya. We serve the lakeside of the city, the biggest freshwater lake in Eastern Central Africa. I'd like to begin by presenting our experience as WOP Kenya, and this is basically the WOP was titled Proper Wash Access in Kenya, where we intended to reduce inequalities through partnerships. Next slide, please. The objective of our WOP was to strengthen our proper agenda through the human rights-based approach. And this is basically with the principle of leaving no one behind. And so this was basically to drive or accelerate the access to water and sanitation in line with the SDG 6.1, 6.2. So our intention was to realize the human right to wash for up to 250,000 people within the layers served by 5 Kenya water utilities, which we had identified. These 5 utilities included Kakamega, Mombasa, Amatsi, Kiambu, and Ololaiza. These are basically counties within Kenya. And just for a clear picture, we have about 47 counties within Kenya. So of this, we identified 5, and we decided to partner with them so that we can be able to support them in to realize the agenda of the work. So Kiwasco was the lead mentor, and of course, we are working together with the 2 main partners. That is WASPA, which is Water and Sanitation Services Providers Association. This is an umbrella which basically houses all the water utilities within Kenya. And of course, the other co-mentor was Simavi, which basically was more or less a triangular cooperation to support us on the human rights agenda. Next. So we intended to look at development of proper policies and management strategies. And this included some of the functions that more or less have been ignored, because basically our interest was to ensure that before we hit the road towards achieving our goal, we have to set the grassroots, or what we call the basics that are required to anchor our activities. Then secondly, because we are aware that governance is a very big enabler within the environment of service provision within the low-income areas, we worked on reviewing these enablers through the governance, institutional, and regulatory frameworks. Then number 3, we also were interested or keen on addressing the gender mainstreaming and social inclusion. And this one basically was being addressed with the support of our partner, Simavi. So we were promoting inclusive participation and equitable access mechanisms, and this included the onboarding and making systemic gender mainstreaming. And of course, this came together with the development of the policies that were aligning our interests towards this. Then number 4, we were also focused on water distribution. As you're aware that before you give services to the low-income areas, you must understand that we, as much as we have the social contract with the people we serve, we also have to break even. And the only way of breaking even is to adopt those methods or those approaches that are able to complement what we get to support the services. So we wanted to enhance the nav in water. We also wanted to adopt or leverage technology through GIS, optimizing the network management, that is operation maintenance, and also aligning our strategies financially, and of course, budgeting and of course, absorption of our budgets. Then lastly, we also want to support the team through the program support, that is organizing, coordinating, putting together team meetings, and all the activities that are geared towards achieving our goal. Next. So from these activities and this very, very fruitful engagement, and I think I want also to write on Shobana's input that this South to South is not only about mentorship, but it's learning which is cross-cutting, and it is a two-way traffic. So Kiwasco or Kisumu Water and the mentors also were able to learn a lot from this, and naturally were able to onboard some of the activities that were not there, or some that were not really functioning properly. So one, we were able to institutionalize the policies and the units that were driving the proper agenda, or the low-income area support agenda, for all the 5 utilities. Then number 2, we were able to adopt or to leverage technology, and through GIS-based approach, all the infrastructure and the service provision was now brought onto a single platform, which we would be able to do predictive analysis, review, and planning proper. Then, as you're aware that it's a requirement by our regulator, which is WASREV, the Water Services Regulatory Board. It requires that all our investments within Kenya, we have to do about 30% of our budgets within the low-income areas. However, because utilities have to break even and have to really look at value for money, it is very difficult to invest up to the 30% of the budgets. So what the program or the project supported to do is to look at how do we align our budgets sustainably such that we are able to, if not reach the 30%, but we are able to do as much as possible toward the 30% that is required by WASHREM. And so we adopted the frameworks. We also have the social connection funds and of course supported the teams towards also reaching out to other partners to be able to onboard some of the funding. Then we also looked at the absorption support, budgeting and strategic planning, and aligning all the plans that we had within the utilities towards the activities to promote low-income area support. Then number four is we improve service models and innovations. And this included the equitable distribution within these low-income areas. We looked at how then do we best support these people either through direct service provision by the utility or through the third-party support. Then number five, we also looked at how do we put together proper program teams, that is from the board level all the way up to the lowest level of operation. Then lastly, we also worked on strengthening the sector-wide learning, of course, together with our partners, WASPA. And all the learnings that we got, we put together as a team and also were able to reach out to other utilities who were interested in adopting. And it is very interesting to learn that not only the five utilities we were supporting were able to pick lessons and also implement, but way more than the five. I think so far, currently, we are working with about 10 other utilities as a result of this engagement. Next, I would also want to touch on our impact in general. So of this target that we had, we were able to hit 286,000 people or persons. And this is basically through the alignment of the plans and investment, what we call the investment plans. The strategies were reviewed, and of course, the focus was enhanced towards proper support. Then we also embedded the proper functions in the systems. Before, some of the solutions were more or less initiatives rather than actual system or a requirement by the regulator. And now the whole, I mean, all of the mentees and the partners were able to embed this and develop proper policies that were governing. Then another issue that was very strongly coming out is the issue of governance, whereby there must be ownership at the level of board of directors. So all the board of directors of these mentees were able to pick up these lessons and were now the drivers towards proper programs and support to the low-income areas. Then number four is digital, adapting digital processes and platforms through the GIS-based operation maintenance. And of course, the teams also were able now to do predictive analysis and do proper planning based on the learnings that they've made from whatever they picked and loaded onto their GIS systems. Then number five is they have enhanced service monitoring and performance. And I want to put it to you that until today, the utilities that we were working together with are now able to see from a high level up to the operational level all the activities that are geared towards progressive development and also the services within the low-income areas. So they're able to pick out specifically what are the impacts that they're giving to the low-income areas and the poor. Then lastly, the overall national ranking within the utilities that we're supporting, we realized that out of the five utilities, two of them were at the top of the most improved service providers for the poor or the low-income areas. The others also were able to improve on their ranking such that they were able to realize that some of the investments that they were making within the low-income areas were actually bearing more fruits. Next, on the specific impact
Jeffrey,
areas.
I think we're going to have
Of the
to
five
stop you there.
utilities,
Jeffrey, we might need to stop you
that's
there.
the last one, I think.
Okay, let's be brief if you can, to make room for others.
All right.
Thanks.
So as you can see, Kakamega also were able to onboard 150,000 beneficiaries, adopting DMA models and also advancing in their leak detection management and underwater management activities. Mombasa were also able to onboard 93,000 beneficiaries, adopted revolving fund, and this one was cutting across the beneficiaries, and also able to adopt technology or leverage technology. Vihiga County, although had some few challenges, they were able to also onboard 19,000 beneficiaries, together with the other interventions that you can see in terms of metering 100%, DMA, and also operation maintenance were improved. Kiambu and Ololaiza were also some of the most improved utilities. And of course, together they onboarded 22,000 beneficiaries, and adopting the new technologies, the DMA management, the proper budgets, and they were also able to adopt technology that was helping them with predictive analysis and making decisions beforehand. Thank you very much. I know the time is short. I will be able to respond to questions.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Jeffrey. Thank you. And it's great going from partnership of 1 to 1 to 1 to 5, which is significant. So we go from 1 to 5 to 5 to 25, and you can imagine before long we can reach all 47 counties in Kenya. So thanks very much for this. I would like to welcome to the floor now Zainab Pakiraba from Uganda to talk about the experience of the WOP there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll start by appreciating the opportunity to share the experience of National Water and Sewerage Corporation in implementing water operator partnerships. My name is Zainab Mpachiraba. I'm Manager External Services at National Water and Sewerage Corporation. I'll share our journey, some of the main elements of the WOP, challenges, and key perspectives. National Water and Sewerage Corporation, just briefly about National Water, it's a public water utility mandated to provide water and sewage services in all urban areas in Uganda. Uganda is a country in East Africa, bordering Kenya, Tanzania, and we operate in about 286 towns with over 1 million connections, serving over 20 million people, and a water service coverage of about 80%. And in here, this has driven our Water for All agenda, and we are gunning for 100% water service coverage in all the areas where we work in the urban towns of Uganda. Moving over to our WOP experience. 20 years ago, National Water realized the crucial truth that water utilities don't have to struggle alone. They can work together, they can learn from each other, and ensure that no community is left behind in accessing water and sewage services. So we started our WOP movement internally, and I agree with Shobana and our moderator's assessment. We started peer-to-peer collaborations way back in 2005. And this led to the creation of the department that I manage that has shown all our peer-to-peer partnership arrangements and collaborations with utilities. And then with the water operator partnership movement, we've implemented over 25 WOPs and still counting from the advent of the WOP movement, first with AFWASA and now with GWOPA and EU WOP. And this has been premised a lot on our capacity building expertise within National Water and the passion for sharing our experience and our knowledge with our peer utilities and ensuring that we leave no one behind. And we are happy, as I was listening to the Kiwasco presentation, from all these WOPs that we've implemented, we've birthed other mentors. Kiwasco was one of our mentees in our earlier water operator partnerships. Nakuru is now a mentor. Ghana Water is a mentor. and we are still counting. And that for us is very is a rewarding moment for national water. What are some of the elements of our water operator partnerships that we have implemented in the last 20 years? We've implemented North-South WOPs, both as mentees and also as mentors. Under the EU WOP program, under the Water Works program, we are implementing South-South WOPs. We've been implementing in-country WOPs where we have the intersection between the urban water sector and also the rural water sector, supporting each other to ensure that we improve service delivery. And briefly, the structure we've adopted. WOPs are mainly capacity building initiatives, but in there, as we engage with the utilities, we throw in some technical assistance. We also throw in some advisory services such that we are able to transfer the knowledge effectively and ensure that we inspire change in these utilities. I'll briefly highlight the success factors. In the interest of time, I'll pick on two. One, I highlighted it in the session that I attended earlier. Flexibility in the WOP delivery, and this fits into the structure. We start with our own design of the WOP, the thinking that we have that will help the utility, and as we go along implementing the activities, we realize that the utility wants something different, and that has contributed to the change in the way we deliver our WOP services, that flexibility in implementation. And we have ensured that, for example, for the EU WOP that we are implementing, in order to sustain the WOP interventions and ensure that the performance improvement and the change is sustainable, we have focused a lot on co-creation with the utilities that we've worked with. We have jointly developed action plans, re-energized these action plans, changed it into something else. We started with an action plan, like for example, for Ghana. We were able to also support them to prepare their own transformation agenda, a parallel action plan that we implemented as part of the WOP. And then even in Somaliland, where we've been working, they had their digital strategy. And whereas the WOP did not start off as a digitally inclined WOP, we are able to feed it within what they wanted, and we are able to develop a program that ensured that they are able to also achieve what they wanted as a utility. And you'll hear the story of Somaliland later in their presentation. Some of the challenges that I would like to highlight is the design of the WOP has a lot to do with going into the utility, ensuring that there is buy-in, and working with the teams that head some of these sections for the priority focus areas that we have. This has sometimes affected the participation of the staff, where in the session for Art of Partnering, where it was clearly highlighted that involving the staff at the shop floor, those that are actually implementing the work in the utilities, helps sustain what you are trying to inculcate in the utility. And that helps sustain performance improvement and the change that we are trying to spread within the utility. That has been a challenge for some of the WOPs that we have implemented, and we are trying to see how we can improve on that. The other is linking the WOP interventions to the bigger utility aspirations. One thing is to diagnose a problem and come up with focus areas, because under the WOP, you cannot touch everything. You'll cherry pick and you say, this is what is important. Does it speak to the bigger utility aspirations? And how do you improve on that? We've struggled with leadership changes, and we've had to adapt our WOP to match with that. Success factors, I will not go through all of them. I think some of these are very clear. I've talked about co-creation, leadership involvement, and ensuring that they are present within the WOP interventions, the implementation of the WOP, such that they can own the activities and be able to lead the continuation of implementation of these activities after the WOP. My last slide is on some of the perspectives. What do we think, where we are going as utilities? And within this WOP model, I'll pick on one or two. I'll share these slides. We are talking about partnerships, water operator partnerships, but it has become clear that utilities cannot confront the challenges water service delivery alone. They need to work with others within their ecosystem. We have water utilities, we have the local government, we have the NGOs, we have the financials. But within the WOP, what strategic alliances need to be embedded within the utility, within the WOP implementation, such that we can be able to have the impact that we want to have? We are talking about the innovation, digital transformation for utilities. And it's one of the focus for phase 2. Is it something that the utility is able to sustain? Do they have the money and capacity to sustain the transformation? One thing is to introduce systems in the utilities. Are the utilities able to sustain these systems, take them on, and even improve them further, such that they can be able to help the utilities move further? And how can we find a balance between software and hardware investments? How can this be achieved as WOPs? We are thinking about re-engineering the way we deliver our WOPs. How can we have the horizontal partnerships that have been spoken about? That is my last slide. But Mr. Moderator, just one more minute, I'll conclude with just, it's not on my presentation, but I would like to share, and I would like to thank GOPA for introducing the concept of sharing what the WOP meant to some of the players within the WOP. I'll share just two messages from the actors that we worked with in some of our WOPs. And for me, these are the things that help us feel that we've done our part. And these will be able to help accelerate the SDG achievement. One is from, one of the message was from Engineer Mwape that we worked with in Ghana. Her personal reflection was that the WOP has been an inspiring reminder that collaboration across borders can ignite transformation within. For her, the WOP was a classroom without walls, where she got a space where she was able to acquire new skills. It sharpened her professional outlook and rediscovered the passion to serve better. That is a very powerful reminder that the WOP was very impactful to some of them. And then for Gladys, Gladys works with the pro-poor, low-income community. For her, her personal reflection was that it shifted her approach from doing things for the community in the way they were delivering services to working with the communities to innovate about how to improve service delivery. And that was profound for me. And the last one was from Anna, who was a new player in the WOP, was brought on the WOP. For her, her reflection on the WOP itself was that she said, I have witnessed collaboration, how collaboration can transform utilities, teams, and mindsets. And she's seeing how Nkana Water team grew in confidence, skill, and they are now aspiring to mentor other utilities in Nkana Water. And for her, that was the biggest achievement from the work that we have done in Nkana Water. And it has helped her reinforce that SDG acceleration is possible as part of all this collaboration amongst utilities. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much. That's truly inspirational and amazing to see this network just growing. And so now moving on quickly to Faustina Bauchi from Ghana. Let's hear from the Ghana experience. Over to you. Thank you.
Right. There's a proverb that says, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, then you go together. And it is based on this premise that our WOP was established. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eunice Ajimaniabua, and I am the Community Development Specialist of Ghana Water Limited's Low Income Customer Support Department. And I'm sure some of you are wondering why Faustina is not here. She's here, actually, but I'm doing the presentation on her behalf. Thank you very much. So, I will be sharing some experiences from the case of Ghana Water Limited, Guma Valley Water Company from Sierra Leone, and then our cherished partner, VEI, supporting us every part of the way. Right. So, as we all know, African water utilities face increasing challenges with delivering water services to its populations. And as a result, low-income populations normally suffer the most. Now, the main challenge with the low-income populations is that they have difficulty affording the new service connection fees. And so, against this backdrop, Ghana Water Limited and then Guma Valley Water Company entered into a partnership in 2021. And mainly the essence of the WOP, or the objective, was to strengthen Guma Valley Company's operational capacity to be able to deliver sustainable services to its low-income populations, as well as its informal settlements. Now we see our partnership as unique. It is unique because it involves two utilities who share similar challenges when it comes to urban water service delivery. And this includes aging infrastructure, high non-revenue water, and then difficulty in reaching low-income areas. And because of that, we were able to co-create solutions that benefit our shared realities for a lasting impact. Thirdly, we see our WOP as unique because it emphasized peer-to-peer learning platforms. And so instead of a top-down technical assistance project, we sat together as colleagues working for our shared purpose. And that really helped us to achieve a lot under our WOP. The key areas of collaboration included institutional strengthening. And so with that, we were to support Guma Valley to upgrade its Pro-Poor unit into a department. And then the second aspect had to do with operational efficiency, where we had to work jointly to improve the capacity of staff on revenue mobilization strategies, because every organization needs revenues to be able to operate effectively. And so that was one of the areas. And then creation of billing dashboards so that we'll be able to monitor service performance and also data gathering for informed decision making. A key pillar also had to do with community engagement, where we were to adopt Ghana Water Limited's participatory model of engaging communities for their views and perspectives to be included in service delivery. What are some of the achievements that we have so far? One of the key things is that at the moment, Guma Valley's Pro-Poor Units manager currently reports to the managing director, which hitherto was not the case. And so there's a lot of prominence. The utility is now extending its services to its low-income communities as well as its informal settlements. And then there has been an increased capacity of staff, of course, in the areas of drone mapping, in the areas of data collection, in the areas of revenue mobilization, amongst others. And then community trust has improved because now communities are engaged. Previously, it was not so, but currently communities are engaged in all endeavors that are undertaken by the utility. Their views are sought, and they are able to influence decision making. And then we've also been able to develop practical manuals, such as community engagement plans, revenue mobilization strategies, and most importantly, the utility now has a 5-year strategic plan, which we were able to develop under our WOP to be able to scale up service delivery to its poor areas, which I think is a very significant achievement for our WOP. What are some of the key lessons learned? I'll just want to touch on one, that institutional ownership ensures continuity beyond the project. We realized that both institutions owned the project. We had our top management being part of the WOP, playing very key roles in every step of the way. And as a result, the ownership helps. Even when the project ends, it helps to still continue make the necessary gains. What is the way forward? Moving from here, how do we scale up? And here too, I would like to touch on one, advocacy for the institutionalization of WOPs in national strategies. I think that is the way to go. And that in that way, we'll be able to get national policies allocating budgets to WOPs in order to ensure sustainability. So lastly, I would like to conclude that scaling South-South WOP is not just about projects. It goes beyond that. It's about shared purpose, it's about learning, it's about lasting partnerships that transform services and lives. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Eunice. That was also very inspiring. Next, we have Barhad Abdirahman from Hargeisa to come and present what's happening there. Over to you. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope it's late sunshine, so people are get bored. I will very quick and summarize my presentation. I'm from Hargeisa Water Agency. which is public water utility in Hargeisa, Somaliland. In Hargeisa, Somaliland. The things that I want to highlight in a very brief way, it's the digitalization part of WOPs activities that's done in Hargeisa Water Agency. I'm not talking about the other parts for the WOPs because there is a capacity building project in Hargeisa. There are some commercial activities. I'm just focusing on digitalization done quickly, especially in very success projects which has been done together with WOPs and our colleagues with the National Water and Sewerage in Uganda. If I start the innovation which has been done in the peeling section for Hargeisa Water Agency, it has been done a very great innovation. Previously, we were being patient on people, the customer was being paid by the water utility using application, and our clients is that they come into the counters and they pay in cash. But recently, when we launched this project, our clients now they pay pills at home. They feel very comfortable. They're just using on mobile app applications in very short. They pay pills on time for their homes, the offices, wherever they are. This was very great activity and project done by the WOPs. We also integrated our payment software to the digital mobile payments. Our network and our creation for customer, a new connection was manual. Previously, it was manual. People they was coming to the offices and doing registration manual. Now we more automated. Our clients they just register online. Then the procedure is going to be automated, starting from our chairs department and then to the technical team, and the client he will follow up using the online dashboard to his data, and lastly they will go to the household and then do the installment for the water pipe, which is very improvement. The things which has been done for the WOPs project is our chairs department. It's a very great opportunity to establish a very important department for our agency. Recently, we used, you can see here the map for Hargeisa Water Agency. The data for the pipeline and water infrastructure is being done mostly using the latest technology of GIS. Also, our chassis is being integrated to our peeling software, so our peeling staff, they can trace where's the revenue collection, where's the any pending pills, where's the areas is to be done. If there's some complaints from some water theft or sometimes there's a leakage, they can follow up using the GIS system, which is very great success. One of the past activities has been done for the WOPs is our customer care software. Previously, we were working, our customer care was just manual. People they were coming and then doing manual procedure, but now we implemented in a call center office that they can call through the mobile using hotlines, and then easily the client can be recorded his data, his complaints, and on time our technical staff they go and do the work. Even our customer, he can follow up his process or his complaints. He can follow up getting a quick SMS on each updates, and the response time will be quickly, and this will be follow up for the whole management system of the agency as well. In terms of the water production and systems in Hargeisa, especially the Center for GW. We implemented a system, computer management system, that our staff, technical staff, especially engineering, they put the repairing activities to the system. For example, if the machine, they want to change the oil to do some operational, whatever, the previously they were recorded stop cards, which is manual. But recently, after we implemented this system and this project, everything becomes automated, which is very important. They do the work orders, they do the schedule of maintenance, they register even the new assets for the water pipeline and the other infrastructure. Sometimes even when there's a maintenance, the engineer or the staff who is the operator in the infrastructure sometimes may forget the equipment. So the system is pushing up notification and SMS that there's a schedule for the maintenance of this machine, and this operation should be done. So it's very, very important in terms of the machinery and operations. In terms of water quality, we have a laboratory, big laboratory in Hargeisa. We do the water tests on daily basis on different districts of the city. The software is just collecting the data, because when our mobile teams and our staff for the laboratory, they do the test, they collected the data, and then they put the register on the database. And all the data, the different parameters for the water testing, they recorded in the system, which is very simple, that they can recover back and generate the reports in the future. And when you get data, you can predict or analyze in the future how the water quality is and the treatment is done, and if there's any activity should be done. Yes. Okay, almost done. The things that I to conclude is the last one is the mobile applications we have been done. This is an application for water offenders we created to our low-income areas. It's a software works like WOPs. People which don't have the pipe connection access, they just order the water from using our system. This project has been done together with our other partners, Unitac. But it's one of the success story for the Hargeisa Water Agency, which has been done successfully. Thank you very much. Conclude this. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Barhad, and I'm really sorry that the period of time for the presentations is so tight, but it's great to hear how Hargeisa has benefited, first of all, from being a mentee, and how it's developing a huge amount of technology and new ways of working efficiently, which you can presumably then share with others. So thanks for that. So the last panelist, the last presenter will be Aswan Ahmedzadeh, and invite you to take the floor, please. And then I think will not have time for a discussion. I will then leave Chris Williams to close. But over to you.
All right. It's always a challenge when you're the last speaker for the last session of the last day. And it's not making it any easier when you have to listen, when you're already listening to such inspiring stories from the other speakers. So I'll do my best, probably 5 minutes of sharing in terms of what Indah Water Consortium has done in collaboration with our mentorship program or our WOP program with our mentees, Perumdapal Banjarmasin in Indonesia, as well as with this partnership of our good friends from Waterlinks from the Philippines. Right? I'll just have one slide, so don't worry. So basically the first part of my presentation, I'll share a little bit, probably 1 or 2 minutes. This is my 4th time speaking in this particular congress, so I hope by now everyone knows about the partnership. But yeah, as I mentioned, I'm from Indah Water Consortium, together with my colleague. We have been doing sanitation or sewage services, both on-site and connected in Malaysia, servicing about 30 million population in Malaysia, 1.4 million septic tanks for the last 31 years. The fun fact about this, we are now mentors, but at the same time, throughout that 31 years of experience, we were once a mentee ourselves. So that's, I think, a very important point that I would like to highlight. Our mentee is Perundapal Banjarmasin, a lovely city in Indonesia, called a city of 1,000 rivers because of its nature being surrounded by many streams and rivers. Sanitation is, on-site sanitation is 95% of its facilities in Banjarmasin. Population of 600,000. Sanitation is run by a very small utility, but very hardworking and good people there. And assisting us throughout this partnership is our friends from Banjarmasin, from the Philippines, Waterlinks, who has probably 15 years of experience doing more than 80 WOPs. So these are the three focus areas that we work on. The first one being the operational improvement, fixing the basics. We went back to basics and look into the areas like things like there were not proper SOPs, proper manuals. Things are being done in terms of FSM and all being done based on just their own experience and knowledge. So we documented everything, put everything in order, and working closely with them, inspire them when they come back, when they came to Malaysia. When we went there, we tried to emphasize quite a bit in terms of how to do things, and it works over the 3 years period that we worked together. The second one, we work a bit on in terms of human capital. We look into establishing competencies and job description for each and every one of the role in that particular utility. And the third one, stakeholder management, because we know that without engaging the internal and also the external stakeholders, this project will not be able to sustain. So that's the part about the project. But more importantly, and to try to frame it with what the theme of this particular session is, how does this relate to the effectiveness of a South-South partnership? And to do that, I'll just highlight these few lessons learned that we have identified. The first one being enhancement is a journey. So this is a very important point for us because from the very beginning, we told our mentee, our Perundapal Banjarmasin, that look, we are not any better than you guys. We are just probably a few years ahead of you guys. So I think the last thing we want is to turn them off by saying that, look, we are the big boys, we are better than you. It's always the case of been there, done that. And we did that. And I think it clicks with them because we were able to establish within the first couple of months of knowing each other that things were on the roll already. There's also solution that works. You know, when we try to come up with solutions, there are always technologies that are the best technologies of the world, what works and what probably won't work. So we try to find a midpoint in terms of solution, in terms of technologies along the 3 years of partnership that say that, look, this is the most cost-effective, this is most efficient. It might not be the Mercedes of the world, but it gets you to start moving to the positive direction. And the importance of benchmarking is also to link to their bigger picture. Every utility, like in this case, Perundapal Banjarmasin, they also have their own strategies to support their government, local governments, in terms of their local government tourism agenda and so on. So it is always important in whatever we come out with, we try to link it back with them. And how does this relate to the South-South partnership? Because it is very much similar in a lot of contexts. Malaysia and Indonesia is two different countries, but we're from the same Southeast Asia region. There are a lot of similarities in terms of how politics work. There are a lot of similarities and challenges in terms of challenges, tariff, local government, local politics, and so on. So that gives us a bit of an advantage that people, when they first spoke to us and said like, look, oh, yeah, you guys can relate to our problem. So that is something that we always feel that it's a bit of an advantage to us. All right. Point number 2 is on terms of SOP ensuring sustainability. Because we know from day one that we cannot go in, this is not going to be a 3-year touch and go kind of program. This program has to continue when we exit out as a mentor. And it did. We continue to check on them from time to time. We still are good friends. But a lot of this happens because we anchor a lot of these improvements into real tangible outcome. It's always easy to have manuals, SOPs ready, but to instill on them in terms of change management, to tell them that why do we need SOPs at the first place? Why do we need to do things from step A to step 1 to step 10, instead of previously just do it through your own method. So by doing that, we've managed to institutionalize in terms of the best practices that we have introduced. And in this context, I think another advantage of our partnership is the similarity in terms of culture and also language. We speak slightly different languages, but there are a lot of similarities in culture. There's also the spirit of Malaysia, Indonesia, both developing countries, all look highly into each other. So we want to help each other. We're always good friends until when it comes to football game, right? And there's the brotherhood that helps a lot. And last but not least, in terms of stakeholder involvement, this is where the part that the moderator, as well as I think Shobana has mentioned it, that is not only trying to influence the stakeholders as the local governments, the one that sets a tariff and so on, but to also amplify these good stories and all those of South-South partnership to a bigger platform. So that's why, coincidentally, there was a World Water Forum. There was a lot of forums also within the region that we bring up these stories so that people can continue to talk about it. And we were lucky to have people from the association, PEPAMSI, and from Malaysian Water Association to help elevate all these kind of good stories. So I guess these are some of the things that I think we can do together as all the South-South partnerships so that more people would know. At the end of the day, as mentioned, we are not trying to say that South-South is better than North-South. It complements, of course. And I think at the end of the day, the whole SDG target is still quite a big of a gap. So if we put all these efforts together, including amplifying South-South partnership, I think eventually we'll get there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Azwan. With limited time, and the closing will happen in 6 minutes, I think, I'd like to invite to join us Chris Williams, who is heading the Safe Water Network and also a former director at UN Habitat. Over to you, Chris, to wrap up. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dyfed. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Okay, terrific. Thanks, everyone, and a really fantastic set of presentations. You guys should really be proud. The range and diversity of these WOPs have been very, very phenomenal. I want to make 6 points. The first one is that it's impressive, the typology of WOPs. Some of them are purely nationally based. It's a network within them. Others are among 1 or 2 countries. The third are between different subregions, which presents some significant challenges of cultural and political diversity, but also inspiring because it opens up new thinking. These range of WOPs, I think, is impressive, and trying to think through for GWOPA in the future. Dyfed asked how many WOPs are there. Well, in addition to the number of WOPs, it might be useful to break them down into types of WOPs. I imagine that's already been done, but I found it interesting how different they are. The second point is the scope of the WOPs. Some of them are just between 2 countries, as we've seen in Ghana and Sierra Leone, or the Philippines and Malaysia and the Philippines and Indonesia, or in the case of Kenya, over 6 cities, and in the case of Uganda, over 20 different institutions that are involved in a WOP. So the scale of the WOP, I think, changes its characteristic. A third observation is the actual protagonist in the WOP. It seems that all of the cases were water utilities. And I find this interesting given that over 30 to 40% of water delivery is outside of utilities. It's done by safe water enterprises or collectives of private water utilities, et cetera. It might be interesting for those on the current WOPs to explore the possibility of engaging non-utilities or mini-utilities, as well as larger utilities, due to the opportunities for sharing and particularly access to populations that are harder to reach or beyond the the reach of the utility. A fourth observation of the WOPs is the functional variation. I've heard peer-to-peer learning, clear to all of them, knowledge exchange, the capacity building component, technical exchange, from the presentation from Malaysia solution networks, and then looking at more ambitiously, joint planning, joint programming, and strategy, and specifically trying to look at ways of increasing access to low-income populations as a joint activity between WOPs, so shared strategies are identified. So it's interesting how wide this functional variation exists. Of course, every WOP is different, but these seem to be the common characteristics. Fifth observation would be specifically on equity access. It's interesting that most of the WOPs that we heard today have really a commitment to reaching populations that are underserved, whether that's through pro-poor units, as we heard in Kenya, with a dedicated gender mainstreaming effort, or looking at scaling up delivery intentionally in Ghana for underserved populations, particularly in informal settlements, and developing a pro-poor unit and staffing it and budgeting it. Or, as in the case of Hargeisa, looking at ways to work through vendors, making sure they're certified, they're providing the services in a way that's equitable, and they're not doing price gouging. They're utilizing the basic tariff regime of the utility. So I think there's a commitment to equity and human rights throughout all of this. It's good to hear and see. Last point would be, what are the advantages of the WOPs that we're hearing, in particular the South-South cooperation? It's clear to me that all of the South-South cooperation initiatives share in common a commitment to universal learning. It's not, as we learned from Malaysia, that one is, just because one's a mentor and the other's a mentee, doesn't mean that there's a hierarchy that presents a sort of demeaning nature. Institutions that are in the learning phase are certainly working in the best of their ability in the context that they're in, and often can surpass those that are previous mentors. And as we've heard, many mentees have become mentors. So I think this kind of thinking is very positive. As well, the concept of co-creation and co-ownership of the WOPs. I think South-South cooperation lends itself to this in ways that perhaps North-South cooperation would not. In addition, I think the ambition in some WOPs of trying to institutionalize the partnerships so that they receive the support of national government, they're built into national policies. I think this is something that one participant could inspire another one within the WOPs. And then lastly, I think overall, in my experience, institutionalizing WOPs, taking them to the next level, moving from the one-off peer exchanges to platforms that are more permanent, that have secretariats, not necessarily huge amounts of money, but a commitment on the part of the driving protagonists to keep them going, and then move more broadly to alliances. And this, I think, will strengthen the ability. We've seen this in the work of Safe Water Network in Ghana and India, where Safe Water Enterprise Alliances are actually brought to the table with government, because it's not just one institution, it's 15 to 20 different organizations. It's a form of WOP that has matured to the point where it's an alliance. I think other WOPs can aspire to this. I'm seeing the kernel of that in Kenya with Kiwasa. So I will leave it there for closing comments. I know we're out of time. I think it's exactly on time ending, Daifid. And I want to thank Daifid and Shabona for excellent work to make this come together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. And a huge thanks to the speakers. I think we've learned a lot from them. I'm feeling, as a last session, I feel very optimistic that we can really go to scale, and I really feel that there's a lot that we've learned from South-South cooperation, and there's so much more it can give us. So huge thanks to our speakers. Please give them a round of applause. And we didn't have questions, so do catch up with them as they walk around and go to the closing. So thank you very much, and thanks for being at WOPA Congress, and do enjoy the closing event. Thank you.